Let's bring into the conversation President and CEO of the NAACP, Derek Johnson. Mr. Johnson, thanks so much for being with us this morning. The NAACP had been calling for a minimum of $50,000 of student debt relief. What's your reaction to the president's announcement yesterday?
I think it's a great step in the right direction. Our goal is to ensure that American citizens have an opportunity to get out of the student loan debt crisis. Unlike other debt, it is a super debt. You cannot even get out of it in bankruptcy. The prior administration had a president who filed 9, 10, 11 bankruptcies to alleviate his debt. But for student loan borrowers, these are teachers, these are hardworking Americans who make this economy go, who ensure that our government is intact. They needed some relief. But in addition to that, the interest that's charged on the student loan is greater than a federally backed business loan. And so we have put people before profit in this case. So I celebrate this administration for taking this important step as we continue to close the racial wealth gap.
You've spoken and written about and given some good perspective on the dilemma that faces a student, a Black American who wants to take out a loan to go to college. They begin with less wealth. They take out a larger loan. Then they owe more money over a longer span of time, and the cycle continues. Can you talk a little bit about, Mr. Johnson, how this might alleviate some of that?
Well, because this administration is also seeking through rulemaking to simplify the process, more students can navigate higher education in a way in which they can understand how best to position their ability to pay for college. But let's be clear, we have a structural problem. That structural problem started because states decided to give tax breaks to the super rich as opposed to funding higher education. We have a structural problem because the Pell Grant that was put in place did not keep pace with the rising cost of tuition. We have a structural problem. As opposed to ensuring that we have a future of educated Americans, we allow universities to start looking at profit motives as opposed to preparing our young people for a future. On yesterday alone, I received a text from a colleague who thanked us for our advocacy because her 75-year-old mother is still paying student loans. That's unconscionable. We should do better by our citizens and put people above profits. And because of that, I commend this administration for doing something and have the courage to do it in the face of the current political reality.
Derek, do you think that this is politically radioactive, and for Democrats in swing districts who want to steer away from this issue because the margins are so tight, do you think that this is a tough issue for Democrats to message, and how should they be talking about it?
I think it's a great thing to message that this administration care enough about voters and about people, and they can actually see the realization of their vote from 2020 in their pocketbooks. Much of what we have talked about is a factor of the war in Ukraine. That's what's creating inflation. The corporate giveaways that we have given over the hundreds of billions of dollars, that's a factor of inflation. The tax breaks that we have given to corporations, those are the factors of inflation. Those are things that were out of control. But when we come to people, we cannot start saying what is going to cause inflation. We've had a pause on student loan payment for the last 2 years. Any impact on inflation have already been realized. Now, let's make sure that hardworking Americans who work for federal government, who are teachers, who keep this economy going, also benefit from the reality that they were put into a trap, a death trap, where so many of them are paying more back in interest than they actually are paying in principle. We have to fix that with legislation, but for right now, I think it's an excellent opportunity to speak to voters, to say, I hear you, I care about your pocketbook, and we are doing something about it.
And what do you say, Mr. Johnson, to the majority of Americans who don't hold degrees from four-year colleges, who didn't take out loans, middle-class Americans, Black, white, Latino, and otherwise, who say, wait a minute, why am I footing the bill? Let's say this is going to cost $500 billion by most estimates. Why am I footing the bill for people who took out money to get an education? Can you understand their frustration?
But that frustration should be pointed at, why is corporate America giving so many tax breaks? Why are the super rich undertaxed? But this is a factor of when you see our tax policy, that's the unfairness. It's not working class America versus working class America. It's corporate greed. It's putting profit above people that has caused this hardship. And we need to stay focused on that and not create this scarcity argument of us versus us, and really understand the structure of our economy should not be built on the back of American citizens who work hard every day being in debt. The structure of our economy should be a fair tax systems that apply taxes equally to the super rich in a way in which they're paying their fair share and not building profit off the back of working class Americans.
The president and CEO of the NAACP, Derek Johnson. Derek, thanks so much as always for being with us. We appreciate it.